creating community in your online courses. When you think of the good class, the class that you walk home or get in your car and immediately think, man, that was a good class. What are you describing? What does that look like? What makes up a good class? Now, many of you are probably thinking, well, it's that class where students are engaged, they're asking a lot of questions, questions that are specific to the content as opposed to irrelevant questions. They communicate with each other in a positive way, not a distracting way, and they seem to enjoy not only the course and the people within it, but the content as well. It's a strong environment, and there's a sense of community between the students and between yourself and the students. So this sense of environment, this sense of community, is typically what we consider a, quote, good class. Now, let me ask you, is that good class a face-to-face course or an online course? Most of us are thinking of a face-to-face course when we think of the good class. Unfortunately, that sense of community doesn't usually exist in an online course, or if it does, it's minor. And that's what we're going to look at today. We're going to look at what is going on with these online courses, what needs to be done, and then how to do it. And this is just a simple overview of some tactics and techniques in order to keep our students engaged and feeling connected to their online courses. So what is going on? What's the issue that we start with here? The biggest issue is that we're losing them. We are losing our students in our online classes. We have an issue of retention. At SWIC alone, we are losing more in our online classes than we are our face-to-face. Quite a bit more, actually. In our online classes, we lose almost 32% every semester, while in our face-to-face classes, we lose almost 19%. So it's quite a big difference for us to experience that drastic amount of students leaving. In addition, those that stay aren't doing as well as they could be doing. As a matter of fact, those that do well, so they stayed, they're actually doing well. They even feel as if online courses are not, quote, real college. So there's this separation of the students' opinions of online courses and their perspectives of it and that of reality. Among all adults who have taken a class online, according to the Pew Research Center, only 39% say that the format's educational value is equal to that of a course taken in the classroom. That is a pretty big, sad number. In addition, in 2015, 78% of more than 1,000 students still believe that it is easier to learn in a classroom rather than online. Now that may change in the future, and maybe with some new tactics and tools that can be altered somewhat, but that's a pretty big number. So these are some of the things that we are dealing with. In addition to that, the students that do participate in our online courses struggle. They struggle significantly. And why? Why is it that they struggle? A lot of reasons. One, lack of instructor communication, a need for community, the perceived rigor and efficacy of online courses. Online interactions don't exist, or if they do exist, they feel fake. Skills that they have or do not have are struggling, so they have issues with time management, their confidence in their skills, computer-based skills, and the ability to cope with workload is struggling. And then also psychological attributes like personal motivation, self-efficacy, and satisfaction with their experience. These are all research-based reasons why students struggle or drop out of online courses. So there's a lot. It seems like too much to handle by any one person. Our students on their own have said for a number of reasons that they have dropped out of online courses. We did a little survey a few years back that asked our students just to give a reason why they dropped out of an online course if they had done so in the past. So a couple of them said these things here. One, I dropped out of my classes because life happened and I wouldn't have been able to dedicate the needed time. So again, we have some psychological issues here. Number two, the teacher expected too much out of the students. I tried to keep up with all the work that was given, and it got to be too much because I had other classes I had to focus on as well. Honestly, that's a good point. If you sound silly, but we really do put a lot on our students when they're online. If you think about it, the amount of work that a student has to do on their own online is much, much more than they would face to face. It's a more active environment than the passive one that can happen in a lecture-based class. So it is something to consider whether that is the case or not. And then finally here, the instructor was not involved in the class. I felt more like a study on your own, and there was no one to ask questions. So these are the feelings of our students. That's what they're saying about this issue and why they're dropping out of our courses. So what needs to be done? What can we do to aid in solving this problem? Honestly, a lot needs to be done. There are a number of things that research and experience tells us we can do in order to be better at this online experience for ourselves and for our students. One, we could have a little bit stronger training. Training not just in the technology, but training also in pedagogy, in specific tips, tactics, tools that we can use in our online courses. Also, students need to be better prepared. They need to understand what it entails when they are participating in an online or hybrid course, and they need to understand how to manage life when there is not an instructor physically standing in front of them. Also, we could use additional institutional resources, a strong advertising campaign that tries to get away from that feeling of sitting in your bunny slippers and pajama pants, eating a bowl of Rice Krispies while you do your homework, although some of them may do that. We want to get away from that. We also want to connect with advising and other online fixes that could help our students be prepared. We could also focus thought and practice on communication and community in our online courses. Be conscious of it. And that is what we're going to talk about, communication and community in our online courses. So what needs to be done? What can we do that will help our students? Communication and community is a big part of that engagement that our students will hopefully feel in their online courses, not just in their face-to-face courses. Online communication is more prevalent than ever. It's everywhere. A study of 2,000 Americans found that 40% are more comfortable communicating online than in person. In addition, of that 40%, those that posted to social media, 41% of that group expected a response within 1 hour. So that means if they put a post on Facebook or Twitter, they expected to be tweeted back or get a response on their Facebook post within 1 hour of their post. And what happens if they didn't get it? I actually find this kind of funny. 49% of them are annoyed with their quote friends, and they feel multiple emotions. 49% of them feel the emotion of annoyance. 39% are actually sad that they didn't get a response. 29% are very hurt that somebody did not respond within 1 hour. And then finally, 12% actually get angry if they don't get a response within an hour. So they feel, obviously, since this doesn't add up to 100, they feel multiple emotions, and some of them actually even get angry when they don't get responded to. That doesn't mean that we need to foster that or work towards that, but it's something to keep in mind. The way we communicate using online tools is much different than it was 10, 20 years ago. So how do we do this? What are some tips and some tools to use what is out there in the most effective way possible and to try to be engaging and create that sense of community with our students so that they can be as successful as possible? Let's look at some options. One of my favorite tools to use is video lecture. As you see here on this video, I have captured the screen with Camtasia, which is this center one here. Camtasia allows you to take a PowerPoint or any screen capturing and record it using music or other videos to mold them together. It's a little bit more of a complicated tool, but it can be fantastic for creating videos. However, there are other things you can use. Jing is a very simple tool. We have training videos for Jing and training sessions for Jing, as well as Movie Maker. Doceri allows you to write on your, say, iPad or tablet and record that. If you've ever seen, those of you that are math or chemistry professors, if you've ever seen this tool here, it's a Pencast. It's where you can write on a regular piece of paper with this special pen, record yourself speaking and writing at the same time so that they can see you sort of write through a problem or through a diagram here. Art could be the same way. So there's all these great tools here that can allow you to create a sense of communication between yourself and those that are watching your video. It's just so much more personal to hear a professor speaking the information than it would be to see it in text format or even as a PowerPoint. So they tend to get a little bit more engaged, and in addition to that, they can listen to these lectures on the run if need be and repeat it, play it back over and over to make sure they got the information correct. Our students really enjoy it, and I won't read all of these, but if you look at it, it allows you to see what they enjoy about this type of thing. And I actually asked the question very broadly, is there anything that your instructor does that you feel connects to you, that helps you to feel more engaged? And these were the responses we got. The YouTube lectures, interactive videos, videos and lectures, the PowerPoint on YouTube. It's been all over the place. Students really enjoy it. They feel like they can understand the information more. They feel like you could watch, as this one says, you could watch the instructor do the problem on the screen just like you would in a face-to-face class. And it just helps them to get that classroom feel. So it is something to consider. Karl Jaspers, which is an interesting quote, said, "The memory of outstanding scholars lecturing accompanies one through life. The printed lecture, perhaps even taken down word for word, is only a pale residue. True, what is of value in the lecture, its content, still communicates in written form, but the lecturer himself or herself presents this content in such a way as to suggest the total context which motivates his scholarship or her scholarship. Through his tone, his gestures, the real presence of his thinking, the lecturer can unconsciously convey the feel of the subject." I couldn't agree with that more. The feel of hearing a lecture as opposed to reading notes is just a completely different game. So using this recording tool, or any recording tool you're comfortable with, is a great asset to our students and to ourselves. How else can we engage our audience, our students? We can also I do this, and I know a number of other people that have tried this out, do some weekly audio announcements. Many of us in our online courses will type up an announcement and we will put it into a text box and send it out. That's still a great option. But another great tool, similar to that of capturing your video lectures, is to record an audio announcement using an app or a tool like Voice Record, which is this one right here. I use Voice Record, Audio Pro, or Audacity. And I've provided some examples of an audio announcement that I have done in the past, as well as over on the video one, I provided an example of a video a video lecture. So these are things that helps our students to feel engaged as we speak through what's happening for that week or how to do an assignment, as opposed to putting it in text format. Our students really enjoy it. They really like the audio announcements because they're people that learn that way. So this student here says, hey, I'm a type of person who likes to hear the directions because I don't always trust myself to read directions correctly. This one talks about how it's great to be able to listen to it on your way to work or while you're brushing your teeth, and it helps you to keep engaged. So another option, another tool that we could use is to connect using social media. As we found earlier, students as well as adults are very engaged in social media. Some of them even get angry when they don't get responses immediately. So maybe using a tool like Facebook or Twitter to connect to our students. For me personally, I have a secret Facebook group for my students, which allows them to communicate back and forth. And as you can see here, this is a screen capture from one of them. They actually sent a Merry Christmas video during one of the semesters, and it was just for fun. It had nothing to do with the content, but it made you feel engaged in the group. So there are things like that. It's also much more easily accessible for our students. For example, when I teach public speaking, there are times when I will hear about a topic or I'll read an article that I know is connected to one of my students' speech topics. And it is so much easier on my phone to put that on Facebook in their group as opposed to having to get into Blackboard, get on there, save the video. It's so much more complicated. Same for them. They communicate with each other. They send each other notes about the topics that they're each doing. So there is some benefit to that because of its ease of access and the collaborative nature of it. So we could use tools like social media. And we have here a couple of students who say that they really enjoyed that. Yeah, you can use Blackboard to communicate, but it's a far cry from the classroom setting. And the Facebook group or something similar helps you to feel less formal and more comfortable asking questions. In addition, catch them when they fall. If they're struggling, if they're having a hard time, shoot them an email. Refer them to Project Success. Even call them if you feel that it's necessary. Try to keep them engaged if possible. Our students really need that. Some of them won't say they need it, but they do. My instructors have both emailed me if I missed an assignment or if I'd missed the weekly forum post. It really helped. This student kept going. Obviously, they were able to complete the course. It may not have been that way had their instructors not reached out. And then finally, maybe consider creating some personal rules for yourself. This is my basic rule. This is what I do for my courses. I always respond to emails within 24 hours or less. And I use my phone, so typically I'll respond even faster than that. I usually grade assignments within 5 days of their due date. Sometimes, again, even more, depending upon the heaviness of the assignment. And in discussion boards, I will typically respond to at least 3 students within the discussion board. That's not the feedback for the grade, but just part of the discussion, or sometimes even more. And then in terms of office hours, some of our students cannot be face-to-face for office hours, so I offer other options like phone conversations, Skype, or FaceTime, depending upon their resources. And they have taken advantage of those on occasion. Not always, but they do take advantage. But this just helps you to seem present and active in that online course. We want our online courses to feel similar, to get along with our face-to-face courses. We don't want them to be enemies, adversaries. We want them to work together. Our students want to feel involved. They want to feel like their instructor is there and participating in the context of the course, as opposed to just creating something and walking away. We want us all to just get along. Let's bring the best of face-to-face and online together. Hopefully this gives you a good overview of some tools that you can use and some reasons why it's important. And I hope you can help to get your students as engaged as possible in their online courses.